Alright, so to clear this up, I didn't have a review out when this was brand new because I do run a for-profit monetized channel here on YouTube, and I've also been known to do some writing, co-scripting, etc. for much more popular and successful channels, plural at this point, that might actually be more associated with the pop culture prominence of this specific intellectual property than its creator and the original games themselves are. So I was kind of thinking, maybe give the initial release some space and don't give the appearance that I'm doing cross-promotion because, I'm not. I mean, I also had other personal things to do on the day that it screened for press in Boston, so I just couldn't actually see it to review it before anyway, but doesn't that first one make me sound more professional and dignified? Right? Anyway, having finally gotten around to watching the goddamn thing, Five Nights at Freddy's the movie is actually a lot better than something that really only needed to exist, open close enough to Halloween, and cost about what it looks like it cost or less to justify existing in terms of making money off a memed into existence young fanbase. I'd say that's not the same thing as saying it's good, but as a movie adaptation of the general premise and half-intrinsic, half-fan-born, now self-perpetuation internal mythos of a gimmick indie horror jump scare game that reverse-engineered an ironically nonsensical horror premise into surreal nightmare fuel over the course of sequels, prequels, and canonized fan theories, it does, pretty much the only honorable thing I'd say I could have recommended anyone do when presented with this material. Throw any hope of grounded visceral realism or even commitment to the jump scare model from the games themselves right out the window, double down on the abstract oddness of the thing, and try to land somewhere between Suspiria and The Shining in terms of protagonists going nuts in an over-designed haunted place stories, resulting in a movie that's pretty effective when it's just vibing out being a creepy, unnerving suburban gothic mood piece for tweens, and less effective when it's actually trying to pair that stayed up too late with the TV on. Not sure if I'm watching good horror or bad kids TV fever dream energy with the franchise's interesting interpretation of coherent storytelling. To wit, Josh Hunger Games stars as a chronically unemployed security guard named Mike, whose tragic but genre-friendly dead parents, kidnapped brother, troubled kid sister, guardianship, survival's guilt, nightmares, plot convenient psychiatric medication backstories forced him into taking overnight shifts, keeping watch over an abandoned Chuck E. Cheese-alike family pizza arcade in the middle of nowhere, which he learns later than you'd expect was closed because it was the central location of a series of unsolved child abductions, just like that of his brother back in the 1980s, and that the ghosts of the murdered kids are not only very much haunting the place, they're doing so by stalking around at night, inhabiting the mechanical, surprisingly sturdy bodies of the animatronic animal mascots that once performed the pizza place's musical stage show. And, look, despite the absurdly convoluted backstory machinations required in the games to get all that into place, that's not a bad ultimate setup in a movie. Dead Restaurant and Shuttered Amusement Park are both horror location mainstays for good reasons, so a haunted family arcade with the ironic, decrepit, faded, whimsical color schemes, sickly electric neon decor, and closed for child murder backstory is a very effective setting, while the idea of ghosts here being basically a team of inhumanly strong Terminators with fuzzy-wuzzy puppet mascot exteriors makes for solid, unique stalk and chase scenarios with unique monsters, and the monsters themselves are all great-looking Jim Henson Company suits, with exactly enough fun subversion for how we expect them to act, given that in this version, Peter Hutcherson figures out what they are almost immediately. Unfortunately, being mysterious eventually has to give way to solving a mystery, which means all that bizarro dream logic, the hell is even going on here, energy has to peter out and start explaining itself by way of the very, very stupid mythology that the franchise has reverse engineered itself into and unsurprisingly doesn't really hang together playing out in live-action narrative. They certainly make an effort of it. They've cast the right actor for when that guy has to show up and do the thing and say the stuff, and it's all very impressively staged for how imposing and threatening they manage to make it all look. Like everything else in it, they're trying to render into something like physical reality these ideas that have mostly been conceptually scary to an audience of kids imagining something worse than what they're seeing in the game, and doing not a bad job of it. So yeah, you know what? Enjoy would probably be the wrong word for my reaction. It's too long, it stops to explain itself and adhere to the structure imposed on it by the title too often, and it feels like a finish that's built up as all hell breaks loose is more like a respectable degree of heck breaks kind of loose, but I was impressed that it works at all, so yeah, I'm, generous, call it a 6 out of 10. Yeah, that feels about right.